Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Triggering Truths. Today, we will be here with my good friend Aubrey Banks. Not only is he a successful businessman, but he's an even more phenomenal person. He's the type of person, if you meet him your first time or your 15th time, he's going to give you game because he feels that it's an obligation. Once he reaches a certain amount of success, that he lifts his people up. Right? We have a lot of gatekeepers in our community that once they reach a certain level of success, that they will not reach down and lift their brothers and sisters up because they feel that they're in competition, which is a programming that we must break. Right? We are in financial bondage. And we have to lift our people up. We have to teach each other what success means because success is subjective, right? But we have to teach each other how to get to a level of success. In America, I also feel that we equate success to the entertainment industry, and that's not a successful person because then you have to look overseas and see what success means to them. And it means self-sufficiency. It means control, right? Do you control your own narrative or is somebody controlling your narrative? In the entertainment industry, unless you have paved your own entertainment, you are being controlled. You are being programmed. And it's time that we lift our community up. We rebuild. We reinvent what success means to us. So today we will be breaking down what success has meant to us and how we were able to reach a level of success while we rise and what we need to do to lift our community up because it starts with us. Peace. And I hope that you guys like this content that we're putting out. I hope that you apply it to your lives. And I just want success for my people. I want us to break free from bondage, mental bondage, financial bondage. And it starts with each and every one of us.
Well, thanks, B, for that amazing introduction. And I share your sentiments. I feel like you are equally as dope as a person. As soon as I met you, your energy and my energy aligned, and I'm very thankful to have met you. As far as my background, it's a litany of things that I do. I've been in the entertainment industry since I was 18. I'm 38 now, so that's 20 years. I started out in fashion, wasn't really making any money in fashion, and so I was like, what can I do? A lot of my friends was in the industry, and I pretty much just piggybacked off of them and got into the music industry and started a production company called Music Heads, which still is in existence today. It's a full-fledged production company. With that particular company, I've had a lot of success, over 80 million singles sold, 2 times Grammy nominated, and done a lot of great things with that, but really wasn't fulfilled. So throughout my journey as a serial entrepreneur, and I know a lot of people say that we're in 2024 and post-pandemic, a lot of people have started businesses, which is an amazing thing, but that's all that I've ever done. In my 20-year adulthood career, I've only been someone who has started businesses and saw them through and ran them completely. So that's kind of like the long and skinny of what I do musically. That's my main company. I also have an interior design firm called the Taylor Firm, which I've had for 8 years. That just was bred out of people coming to my house, liking my style and asking me to design their house. I created a business out of it. I moved to California in 2020. I started a new company then called Elevate Media House, which is a multimedia marketing firm. We basically do magazine covers, stage design, movie set design, anything encompassing design, but on a media space, if that makes any sense. I've done covers with Janet Jackson, Chris Brown, Jaden Smith, etc. Really, really dope covers. And that business happened accidentally. It happened because I was at the right place at the right time. And then finally, I have another company called Nate 1085, which started as a management company. We deal with a lot of sports players, NFL, NBA, etc. And what we do there is build their brand outside of sports. We have a department called the crossover department where we basically take you from one career into another. An example, if you are a athlete and you want to be on a McDonald's, we help you with that. Or if you're a rapper and you want to play basketball, we help you with that type of thing. And that's kind of the long and skinny of what I do professionally.
That's that was a lot. We're gonna really dive into that as the episode progresses, or as the conversation progresses. So I think my first question to you then, because you have been through many successful backgrounds, what does success mean to you? Or I want to break it down into two segments.
Okay.
As a child, what did success mean to you? And as an adult, what does success mean to you? Has your perspective changed?
Yes, my perspective has changed, and that's a very good question. As a child, success meant to me being in a better position than I was at that time. And the majority of that was financial. That was just getting my family into a better position. I heard my mom complain a lot that if she would have finished college, where would she be? She would have a better life. We would have a better life. And my idea of success at the time was, I want to be better than that. But as I became an adult, I realized, the second part to your question is, when I became an adult, I realized a lot of our idealism when it came to success was vanity things. It was things that people could see and not necessarily that you felt. So now my idea of success is freedom. Anything that allows me to be free is where I hold my success. You can take my business away. If I still feel free, then I feel like I'm successful. If I feel like I'm bound, I don't feel successful and I won't do well at it. You can pay me $6 million a year, and if I don't feel free, it's not something that I'm going to continue to do.
Right. Because I've known you, so I know that you've grown up in Georgia.
Correct.
How far away from, and this is going to go somewhere, how far away from Atlanta is your hometown? And is your hometown a big city place or a small town?
It is a small town. The place that I'm from originally is called Adel, Georgia. And it used to be called Putterville because it flooded all the time. 9,000 people, I believe. When I was growing up, it's probably about 25,000 now, but still a very small place. Only one high school, only one middle school, only one elementary school. So everyone knew everyone. And my mom owned businesses, so we did better. We was not rich at all. I grew up a lot in a mobile home park, but we did better than a lot of our counterparts, our people that looked like us. So people thought I was rich because my mom always drove a nice car and etc. But coming from that small town, I really would contribute a good majority of that as to why I'm successful, because I saw everybody around me for the entirety of me growing up never changing, never going anywhere, never doing anything, being excited about the smallest things. An example, graduating high school. They damn near throw you a parade because you graduated high school. Right. And to me, that just was kind of sad because I traveled a lot and I saw other people thriving more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I say that because I don't live in LA.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in LA, but I was raised outside of LA, not too far from LA.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it's just a California thing, but everybody in California, they thrive to be an entertainer, and may that be a rapper, an actor, a basketball player, athlete. And I asked that because being in a small town, did you guys look at things, and I guess because it's a lot more accessible out here at Hollywood,
mm-hmm.
the big lights, the glam, the glory.
Yeah.
A lot of people move from other places to come to LA for opportunity. So in your town, did you see like a lot of the people in your neighborhood, a lot of your friends, they wanted to be these things as well, or is that just...
No, that's the crazy part about it. They didn't dream that big. I didn't dream that big. I honestly think that a place like California allows you to dream big because you see so many examples of it. Where I'm from, there was no examples of success. There was maybe one person in my entire life that I knew went to the NFL. Nobody went to the NBA or beyond. No one became a successful entertainer, actor, rapper, etc. No one. Not one example of someone that I could touch and say that I knew. And honestly, now that I look back on it, I don't know anybody from my town that is more successful than me. And that's kind of sad because I don't even feel like I'm 20% of where I'm headed. So to say that is not a gravy thing. It's not something that I'm saying to gloat. I'm just saying that to say that's kind of like a realization to me that that's not really cool. That we don't, coming from where I come from, we didn't dream that big. How we dreamed is if you get you a Cadillac, you good.
Right.
You know, unfortunately. So now that I look back on it, God had to specifically bless me to be this way, because there's no way that I started to think this way being taught how I was taught. This was already in me and destined to be, I feel.
So previously you mentioned education,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to me, there's two types of education,
Mm-hmm.
right? To me, it's self-education, being self-taught, and the education system.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like, because we attribute graduating college and going to college as being successful,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that the education system is molded for people to be successful?
I think that the education system in general is a plan to fail for people of minorities and color, because what they tell you is you can pay us to become successful, but we still hold the power, and if we give you an opportunity to become successful or not. Think about it in this way. It breeds you to think very one-dimensional, because you go to school, you learn a trade. What happens when you get into that trade if you don't like it? You don't even know if you're going to like it. You're just basing it upon schematics. You're basing it upon income. You're basing it upon, oh, well, my mom was a nurse or a doctor, so I want to do that. Or this is what my uncle told me would be a good field to be in. And it's not really any type of self-expression in education. So for me, I feel like the education system in general is a plan to fail. I definitely think that education is important. I think that it's a lot of people who need a formal education because they lack in a lot of other areas. But I think there's no greater gift than self-education. I think that, and I need to even stop saying I know that self-education is the most powerful tool that you can ever have, because think about it this way. If you have a tribe, if we're in tribes, right? And tribe can be your color, it can be your family, it could be a multitude of things. But if you have a tribe, and everybody in that tribe goes to college or go to school and learn a formal education, but they have not yet learned who they are, then how does it benefit them? To me, it doesn't benefit them. What they do is they learn something that they can't use. I look more so is in teaching your tribe the things that will be able to master the world. An example, my mom was a single mom. She taught me to be very independent. She taught me that you may not have two people to help you. You may only have one. You may have none. And so you got to be self-sufficient and figure it out on your own, because even if you only got one person to help you, like me, I may have to go to work and I'm not there. So you got to figure it out. She taught her tribe the things that she lacked. And that to me is more important than any form of education, because that's what I would do.
Right. That's good parenting as well.
Yeah.
I do want to shout out to moms.
Yes.
I think my perspective on education, right? I go to the grade school, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any structure as far as progress outside of the education system, right?
Correct.
We go to school, we learn history, we learn a lot of different science, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't learn skill.
Mm-hmm.
We don't learn business. We don't know about 401k. We don't know about life insurance. We don't know how to create a business plan, etc. So for me, when I think about education, I think that it's systemic, right? It's a system.
Yep.
And I think the education system is to keep people in bondage.
And
I think that it's only a very small amount of a percent of people that get to escape the education system. And then, like when you say, when you go to college, I think that college is also systemic as well.
I agree.
Unless you're taking, certain courses, like when we talk about business, unless you're in business, how many people are, now it's like a popular thing, but I don't think a lot of people go into business. So say I am a nurse. If I want to start my own practice, now I need to learn about the business.
Correct.
But I may lack in business, so now I'm going to be held into bondage into the system by working for a hospital or somebody else's practice because I know nothing about the business. And I also think that people get in businesses and they don't pay attention to the development of a business.
Correct.
If I have a job, I'm in the job trying to figure out, okay, what can I take from this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think I have a hustler's mentality. Like I was in school slinging, chocolate, slinging candies and, trying to work for be self-sufficient, because as a basketball player, and I love that you got, one of your businesses is to help basketball players venture out into, or athletes venture out into other avenues, because now they have NIL deals and all this grand things, but when I came up, wasn't no NIL deals. You feel me? We eating top ramen noodles, and we getting it out literally getting it out the mud. So it's like, we don't, as a college athlete back then, you couldn't have a job. I had a job on campus, but I couldn't be self-sufficient. Now these athletes have an opportunity to run their brand. They're their own brand. And now you guys can come in, everybody can come in, and now you have to know the business and mold yourself into being a successful brand. So I think my next question is, what do you think is the biggest issue among Americans as it pertains to success?
Ooh. I mean, I can go deep with that. What I will say is, to piggyback off what we was just talking about, and then to go into this segment, I think that I hold education and religion, I think they're akin. And what I mean by that is, I feel like they're systematic, just like you said. I feel like there's systems that are put into place. A lot of it is learned behavior. A lot of it is your grandparents taught, your parents taught you. And just because it's taught doesn't mean it's accurate, or it doesn't mean it's correct, but you make it work for you and your tribe based upon what you're taught. So I think education a lot of times is taught because your parents was taught this is the best way, this is the only way, this is the way out, etc. So they then teach it to you as a means to better you. But like you said, those systems that are in place aren't there to benefit us as a group, because what happens is, just like religion, you decide what you want to learn, you decide what works for you and your family, and you go through that. A lot of times, most people very rarely veer off that course and try to even think outside of the box and see if something else may work. So education to me is very similar to that, in the sense of, I went to school one semester, and I only went to college because my mom told me I had to. She had very little rules, but she said you must get an education, because that's how she was taught. She was taught that was the most important thing outside of anything else. You get an education because people can't take that away from you. But what they don't tell you is, they can't take your education. However, they control what you can do with it. So it's almost a backward system in my mind, because one thing that I know can't be taken away and what can't be controlled is what I wake up every day and decide to do. If I decide today that I want to open a furniture store, no one can take that. Now, I can be hindered, I can be slowed down, but that can't be taken because it's mine. I own it. And I learned that very early in life. When I opened my first business at 18, I opened a clothing store. It was so much freedom and power in that, because it was mine. I didn't have to ask somebody, could I come in? I didn't have to specifically get up at a certain time. But that was also the gift and the curse, because I also learned in opening my first business, if you don't get up, you don't eat. If you don't hustle, you don't eat. And guess what? Sometimes you're going to put all the work in and get nothing in return. And that was just like a learning curve I had to learn. But I do think, and I said all that to go to the next point, I do think that America's idealism when it comes to education and even forward thinking is still 100 years behind. Because what we have learned and what history have shown us is that it doesn't work. The systems that are in place do not work. They have not worked for a long time, but they probably won't ever work until someone decides to change it. And I do think we're in a place now where people are changing it. That's why you have people that get on TikTok and they're making millions, etc. But to your point, they're making millions, they're able to feed their family and live a better life now, but then they have no education value when it comes to how to deal with money. What's the importance of credit? You can have $5 million in your bank account and still can't buy a house because you don't have credit. And so teaching that, to me, has been my life lesson, because teaching that to people is paramount to anything else. You can have money. I've been rich. I've been poor. I've lived in a mansion. I've slept in my storage unit. But one thing that is in me that will never be taken away is my self-teachings when it comes to life skills. What I like to call mother's wit. Those things that you must know that are innately in you to get to the next level. common sense ain't coming, because a lot of times common sense is also a bit of what you have mixed with a bit of what you learn. And I think that's where people kind of mess up at. For me, I wasn't taught about credit. I wasn't taught about any of those things. I knew about them because I had to, but I wasn't taught about them. But when I started to self-educate myself in those things, my life changed 100%. Because now I can wake up and not go to work and still be okay, because I know skills and certain sets of things in life that will get me to stage A to stage B. But a lot of people don't. They'll make money and they'll very rarely see a stage B because they don't have the tools that it takes to keep it.
Okay, that was loaded. But you mentioned something. You mentioned two things.
Yeah.
One slipped my mind, I'm not gonna lie.
But it's okay.
But the one thing you mentioned was furniture store, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we're both, to me, in the entertainment industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that people have Americans, because that was the second thing. Just Americans in general, right? We're behind.
Yeah.
And you look at other countries like China, who's progressively growing. Even Africa, because they're still in all those resources.
Correct.
And they have a lot of resources. America once had a lot of resources too. That's an episode for another day.
Another day.
But do you think that there's not enough diversity in the field? And what I mean by that is like I said, I'm from California. You know, out here everybody wants to be in the entertainment industry.
Mm-hmm.
But if everybody's trying to get into one bucket,
mm-hmm.
how many people are actually going to be successful when there's many buckets to get into? Like you said, furniture store. I say farming, things that, you know, and as people are not progressive enough, to me, in America. If we look around us and we see, okay, what's needed,
mm-hmm.
right? We look and see, okay, the future holds, we're talking about food shortages, we're talking about tech, right? And then everybody's trying to get into the entertainment industry. What value does that really have when people are talking about things like doomsday?
Yeah.
So do you think that everybody, I don't say everybody, do you think that there's a number of people trying to get into one field, and that's why a lot of people don't end up with the success that they think that they should obtain?
You know, I'm going to expand on that, actually. I don't even think that's it. I think the problem is we have been taught to follow and not lead. And because of that, we think getting into a certain industry is our golden ticket. Mm-hmm. We think if we get into the entertainment industry, if we get into the basketball or football or any type of professional sports, or we get into any field, even if we get a job in Netflix, you know, that's
mm-hmm.
Those things are held at a high regard. And it's because we're taught that if we're in these fields, we make a certain level of income and we have a certain level of respect because we have reached a certain level of success. But what we're not taught is there's no control.
None.
There's no control. And none of that, there's no control. So we pick these fields, and a lot of us pick them not even... I think black people are talented at everything. So
mm-hmm.
It ain't even based on talent at this point. It's based on what you want. What is your goal? What is your goal for yourself? And what do you see yourself in the next 10 years or wherever? Not even based on talent, because teachable talents are basketball. Teachable talents are rapping. You can teach somebody how to rap. You can teach somebody how to play sports. But being a successful thinking mindset is something totally different. And what I learned is, black people in general, no matter if you, and I'm going to name drop a couple people, Taraji P. Henson, Denzel Washington, whomever, we can go on and on and on. Michael Vick, all these great American heroes that we have that we look to as American heroes, and they are. They've superseded what they have already said, and when I say they, the rest of the world said we couldn't do. They superseded that, but they're still following. They're still pandering themselves to get into an industry that they don't control. And so it's invertly the same thing as going to work for somebody, because we have superseded what they said we couldn't do, but they still in control of us. If they don't want us to work, we won't work. Why haven't we yet sat down and said, as a group of people, we don't need to go complain to a committee, we need to create a committee?
Hello.
We don't need to go to a sports franchise and try to pander to get in. We need to create one. And I think it's enough of us now and enough intuitism and power that we have had and we've gained across the years that it's enough people to do that. But unfortunately, we're still teaching followship and not leadership.
I definitely agree with that, right? My avenue has been, I've been gravitating more towards history, more towards self-sufficiency, and that's just outside of the industry that I'm currently in. Mm-hmm. But going to your point about fellowship, I feel like, and it's always going to sound like I'm knocking the people, the American people, because the culture is, to me, idolatry. Like, we live in a world where, like, I can go on the internet today and I'm probably going to see, and I have to really get myself off the internet. I'm going to see what Nicki Minaj and Meg Thee Stallion are doing, and that's all people are going to be talking about. And it's entertainment. It's like we're focused on entertainment while we're allowing other people to get ahead in other industries. And I think that we have to in order to break away in every industry, we have to create, like you said, our own industries. And that means we have to supply our own food. We have to supply our own sources. We have to supply our own entertainment, right? So now we have the control, because we talk about Taraji, then we could talk about people in the music the industry where they don't have control over the content that they put out.
Correct.
So, when's the last time we seen a J. Cole, a Kendrick Lamar? It's been a while, a Tupac, because the industry is now being controlled. So what is it going to take for us to take? Is it that we don't have the power to take the control? Because I heard somebody say, in order to be progressive as a people, that means that we have to do the work.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are okay with not doing the work right
Correct.
now. It's laziness.
Yep.
It's I don't want to have to do the paperwork.
Yep.
I don't know how to do the paperwork.
Yeah.
But how are you going to teach yourself how to do the paperwork? Because that's how you guys are ending up in these deals. You guys are talking about, I'm not getting paid enough. Well, why you didn't orchestrate a better contract?
Yeah, and better. I'm gonna give you one better. Damn, teaching yourself. Why are you not learning so you can teach someone else? Because it's okay if I'm a guinea pig. It's okay if I got to go through the fire. I'm strong enough to do that. But what happens to my kids and my nephews and the people that are under me, that are coming under me, that don't know any better, and they won't know any better because I won't learn any better? It doesn't make any sense. And also, I don't think it's that we don't have the power. We have the power. We don't have the courage. That's what I would say.
To me, it's laziness. It's not wanting to step out the box.
Yeah.
And going to your point, because I always preach this, your kids, right? Damn, thinking about yourself. I don't have kids, but I think about the generations under me. Why do I think about the generations under me? Because I've thought about the generations behind me, right? And I look back in the past and I see how we have not progressed, right?
Correct.
If I go outside, I see 1 million homeless people, right? That could have been my brother, cousin. That could be my son. That could be my dad. That could be my mom, right? So why, as a people, are we not thinking we are in a controlled system? Even if I go back, because earlier you talked about being free. That's enough. That could be success to you, right? And I believe that too. There's nothing more than I want in life than freedom.
Correct.
I believe that, because I keep talking about self-sufficiency, right? As far as being able to farm, being able to have my own water supply, being able to supply my own electricity, right, through solar panels, etc., my own water wells, etc. And I think that we miss that as a community in progressing, because we've allowed somebody to control us. We've allowed somebody to program us. We are not living in a system that we control at all right now. And if we go back, we can go back to the Indians and the tribes, right? Because we are indigenous to the lands of all lands, right? And we can go back to the lands of the beginning. And the Indians, they didn't need all this stuff that we got, but they were self-sufficient and they were happy, right?
Yeah.
Now we look, and it's not a lot of happiness. Some people are happy, but there's a lot of people that are trying to figure it out every day.
Yeah. It's internal. It's internal. We're not happy with ourselves. And when I say we, I'm speaking as a whole. I feel like we're not happy with ourselves. And we have not been happy with ourselves since inception. And we've been given little bits of, we'll call it, little bits of success and little bits of gifts along the way. And we have took that and thought that that was enough. We have not yet found internal happiness. We can tell just based upon the crime we commit against each other's. We can tell because we have no camaraderie. We can tell because we are not loyal to each other. And the interesting thing is I've watched other ethnicities and other cultures and how they operate. And the one thing that we lack that a lot of them have is loyalty to each other. I give you an example. My mom lives in a country club, and she's the only black person that lives in that country club. And a lot of the her counterparts, which whether they're white, they're Asian, whomever, you can tell they have a lack of respect because sometimes they won't speak, sometimes etc. And you can tell it's not because they're confused on how she got there. They're not confused on she got there because they know we're smart. They know we're strong. They're confused on how someone else let her get there. And that's the initial phase. Once you get past that phase and they realize you're so powerful, we can't stop you. You've been here 10 plus years. Ain't nothing we can do. We gotta embrace you.
Right.
But once they start to embrace you, they start to give you a little bit of hints on how they operate. And what I've noticed is she has a neighbor. Her neighbor is white. He's on drugs. But yet he looks very successful. His house is bigger. He has boats. He doesn't seem to work very hard, and he seems to live really well, right? But you'll pay attention, people across the street, there's a divide. Same color, but what they have, they've gained more success. They own a casino, right? And so but based upon them owning that casino, they look at him as like, well, you're just a farmer. You know, and that's something similar we have in our own community. So that was, I paid attention to it because I was like, okay, that doesn't just belong to black people. Right. That belongs to other communities because that's a misconception. Because they're looking down on him because he's a farmer. Even though he's successful, he's just a farmer. But what I did notice was he got into a bad time because he got on drugs and he was losing his house. We live in a small town. Once you get ready to lose your house, they put it in a newspaper. It's this whole thing. He never, out of 3 or 4 times in a matter of 5 years of him losing his house, so that's 1 time every year, he was getting ready to get foreclosed on. He never got kicked out. And he came and he told my mom that the guy across the street, whom he disliked, they dislike each other, they've even fist fought, saved his house. He came to him and he said, I'm going to pay for your house. You stay in it as long as you want until you get yourself together, and we'll figure out how you can pay me back later. That is something that we lack. That is something that they have and that we have not sat down and simply just thought about. How have we not been able to advance as much as them? It's simply that. It's simply their ability to work with each other, teach each other, don't judge each other in public. I might judge you in the back end, but you look like me. Right. And because you look like me, I'm going to help you out. That's one thing that we lack. If we can get past that point, which is the main thing, and then the other point, which is why is these things the way they are? You took it upon yourself to say, I'm going to figure it out. Because I see my brothers and my sisters not advancing. And I'm young. I don't want to be in a position where I'm at that age and not advancing. So I commend you for that because it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of time and effort to do that. And a lot of people just don't want to know. I'm someone who wants to know, but I'm happy with also learning from someone else. You're someone who's like, I want to know. I ain't finna wait for nobody else. I'm finna figure this out on my own so then I can spread it on. And you've done that to me. And I think that's really, really admirable. But what we don't have is enough of that. We don't have enough of that. But the problem is, even if we get a lot of that, we don't have enough of the people that's willing to listen and that want to learn and that want to grow and that want to be in a different place because they feel like if you make less money than them, you can't teach them anything. They feel like if you're not the idea of success, you're not smart enough. And I think that has been systematically placed in us. We have been taught we're less than no matter what we are in life, no matter where life places us. We have been taught that we will never be better than them. And because we've been taught that slave mentality, we still carry that on. No matter, Kanye said it the best, even if you in the Benz, you're still a nigga in the coupe. And that's how we think. I don't think he was saying that to say, well, they're going to look at you as a nigga no matter what, because they ain't stupid. They know that a lot of us are powerful, and they know that we're successful, and they know that we're smart. But we look at ourselves that way. We look at ourselves as we have gained this momentum, we have gained this success, but we still doing shit like niggas. And I love being black. Mm-hmm. I would rather be nothing else. I love being black at this time, because I feel like I've been able to see a lot of increase. But the problem is, it's okay with being black. It's a problem with thinking black. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is thinking what they think we should think.
Right.
We got to take what black is and change the narrative and control it. Because to me, black is strong. Black is powerful. Black is smart. Black is resilient. Black isn't dirty. Black isn't failure. None of the name black people that fail. We're born in adversity. How could we fail? We literally born in a position that we are going to have to fight harder than everybody else. And you think like a failure? It's preposterous to me. I literally feel like I'm a winner just because I've made it this far and I'm black. Oh, so I'm not going to put myself in a position to think that I'm less than, that I'm not as good as, that I'm not as smart as, and they know that. But the difference is they have been able to tap into certain people and control this. If you can control a man's mind, you can control his future. You can
control the world.
You can control his future.
If you can control history, you can control the world.
You can control the world.
I think that's where I really got into my mission, my journey, is because I had conversations with my dad about how, and he grew up in Duarte and Pomona, and how in those neighborhoods, especially in Duarte, they had their own businesses. Mm-hmm. And then they ended up selling those businesses off to the Chinaman. Mm-hmm. But then I've also heard other, like when I'm listening to YouTube, other black people that are now successful. Claude Anderson he used to work for the government. Mm-hmm. He talked about how it was one story in particular where he talked about a black man when segregation, right? Mm-hmm. When integration took place, black people now wanted to patron the white man's company or whoever's company, right? The Chinaman, whoever. And they didn't want to shop black no more because it was almost like a privilege. Like, oh, now I get to go over here to this person's company and patron them. Yeah. Now the black man is one story. He asked the man, why you didn't buy ice from the black dude? Yeah. Oh, the ice isn't crunchy enough. And I think like then I go deeper into that, and then I learn about ancient civilizations and how those was black people. And then I go to the Americas, and I learn that the Olmecs were black people. Yeah. And then I say something is not adding up here. Yeah. So then I go into the system, because now those were our civilizations. Mm-hmm. Right now, this is not our civilization. Mm-hmm. We're living in another person's civilization, mm-hmm. and people, like you said, they're accepting the scraps and they're like, okay, but then they don't look at the bigger picture. I look at the bigger picture. What used to be mine. Yep. I want my shit back.
Yep. 100%.
Period. Yeah. Like when you talk about reparations, that's what you owe me. Correct. But I'm a taker. Well, I'm gonna take, just like you came and took my shit. Exactly. I'm gonna take my shit back.
Exactly.
And that's the mindset we as a people need to obtain. Yeah. But we in this nigga mindset, right? 100%. That we think that we're nothing but niggas because you have been programmed to believe that you are nothing but a nigga. Yeah. But then I look and I say, no, actually, you're not. Yeah. But you're so systemically oppressed and programmed that you're mentally now ill. Yeah. Now we're dealing with a mental illness. Yeah. And it's really what it is. Yeah. And I don't... No, that's my biggest thing right now is how do we break the people from bondage? Because some people, you have conversations and they think that they living good, or they think that they cannot be any better. I've had a conversation with a dude tell me I ain't nothing but a nigga.
Wow.
He literally told me that. I said, and he has kids. I said, you have a responsibility to your kids to change your mindset.
Correct.
Because we can't live in a system where we say, don't do as I say. Or what is it?
Don't do as I do
as I say, right? Mm-hmm. No, they need to see an example. Mm-hmm. Why would I do something because you said it, but you're not showing me that you can do it?
Yeah.
You have to change your mindset so that you can lead a nation. Yeah. And that's what I had to do myself. I had to separate myself so that I can, apply what I know to lead a nation.
Yeah.
And going back to what you said about like other cultures, right? Mm-hmm. And I ain't gonna throw their name out there, but the Star of David people, right? Those are people who are in a community, right? They don't talk bad about it. They might talk bad about you, but they're never gonna let you fall off.
Never.
Right? And they're never gonna publicly speak against you. Every time, a situation happens with us, we gotta talk bad about each other. So when I look at the Hispanic community, prime example, living in LA is a lot of, we're on the border, right? And growing up, people would talk crazy. Like, they would divide Mexicans and blacks. And I'm like, yo, we in the same struggle.
We in the same struggle.
But then, like,
we're cousins.
Exactly. People be like, Hispanics, they live 5 in a house. They live 12 people in a house. Now I see these, I train a kid. He got a full court basketball court in his backyard, right? I don't know if they came from that same struggle, but the point is, it might take for you to live 12 in a house so that you can get your own house and your own land. It might take for you, and being a farmer is a beautiful thing. I am a person who is an advocate for being able to supply your own food supply. Exactly. Instead of taking what somebody else is putting on your table, you're actually eating from the table of your enemy. So I think that's crazy anyway. Why would you let your enemy feed you?
Correct. It's the art of war.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So I see how they have progressed, and I'm like, our community will spend our last dollar on things to look good. Like, we live in a impressive community.
Correct.
I want to impress the next person, but then you want to impress a person who you would talk shit about.
Or don't even know.
Or
won't ever meet. It's the strangest thing. It's like you literally do all of this work and effort to impress people you don't like and people that you don't know for a reason that's unknown. It makes no sense. But again, I think my grandmother used to tell me 2 things. One of the things she used to tell me was, you can't save the world. And now I understand what that means. Another thing she used to tell me is charity starts at home. And I